So Kentucky was home to eastern elk, whether it's Elkhorn City, Elkhorn Creek, documented elk in Kentucky spread all across the state. We lost our last known elk pre-Civil War, about the 1840s. And so from the 1840s on, it's that elk were devoid from the landscape.
You'll never guess the places that I've been. You never guess the places that I've been. 'Cause everything is like a dream, yeah, but only in that dream that I live in.
At that time, when you look at Fish and Wildlife agencies, they were very involved in species restoration. And as a lot of those things were starting to wrap up, with deer, with turkey, with otters, we were looking at the next step forward. And for us, it was elk. You know, we had the habitat and the desires. There were elk in Michigan and there were elk in Wisconsin, but there weren't any in the southern part of the U.S. You know, this would be a big endeavor. And things that we were looking for was a low road network, lots of open areas that elk can utilize and feed from, low populations of people, just a good open expanse. Eastern Kentucky made the most sense to us. And then that marriage with our department and RMEF comes into place to where, you know, we start working together, trying to find out a means and a mechanism to pull off an elk restoration in the East, helping us make those contacts in the West. The financial aspect of that, you know, this is a large movement of animals all across the country, and we needed a partner to help us work through that. And that's where RMEF came in and where our relationship started. That was pretty much a predominantly closed canopy hardwood forest ecosystem. However, Eastern Kentucky is where our mining industry is. And through that practice, it creates early successional habitat and grasslands, which is perfect habitat for elk. And it was really the driver that said, you know, we think this can work. There's plenty of habitat there. We're restoring a large ungulate on private property. And this is a new endeavor. Maintain the herd, how we work hunters into this fold without having long-term secured access starting out of it.
Because no other state has attempted what you all did at that scale.
We wanted to try to do everything we could to set ourselves up for success. And it really was twofold. It was one, bring in as many animals as we possibly can, and two, get them from a variety of source states out west to increase our genetic diversity. At the time was like 3.7 million acres in our proposed area, and the opportunities were endless. We started our efforts in December of 1997. Our first group of elk hit the ground then. In total, in a 5-year period, we released 1,549 elk, so a lot of elk. To be honest, for us, it wasn't as many as we wanted. We had a very lofty goal of thousands of elk, and a lot of that hit the brakes with the discovery of chronic wasting disease in Wisconsin. That was the first time that disease had been documented in the East. It really caused all the big game managers to pause. And so at that point, we were happy with what we had and basically said, project done. Now let's just let them breed and expand naturally from that point on.
Well, I think it's safe to say they've suspended just fine.
That they have. They've done very well.
These other states now don't have to drive out west to get states, and that Kentucky served as a source.
It was the pay it forward mentality. We got our elk for free. Western states gave them to us, so we felt that it was in our best interest to do the same. So we started with Missouri, and then Virginia came right on board the second year and said, we'd like to have some elk too. And then Wisconsin said, we've had our elk for a long time. We have some genetic concerns. Would we be willing to give some elk to Wisconsin? At this point, we can say project complete for all of those, and all those states now have healthy elk populations that are increasing. So in 2001, we established our first elk hunt. And keep in mind, we released animals in December of '97 through 2002. So we were still releasing animals while we actually implemented a hunt. We wanted to set the stage to say, hunters are going to benefit from this opportunity. Hunters are paying for this. they should be able to partake as soon as we feel that it's comfortable. Applications, even in 2001, were $10, and we've maintained that through times. And now, 20 years later, we had around 45,000 people applied for an opportunity to get one of those tags. And those folks come from all over the United States. We always have been doing intense research, but we took it to another level at this point. We started putting GPS collars on elk all across the elk zone, and it's been fascinating to see those movements and what that data has shown us. A lot of it has confirmed some of the things that we have heard, but it's also shed more light on what was perceived, and it's not really reality. Things we hear, like we can't see the elk, they're just not here. Well, one year we sat down and we looked at all the elk that were on the landscape right during the elk hunt, and we plotted all their locations. And we said, how many of these are available to a hunter, meaning they were in an open habitat during daylight hours. It was like 90-some% of our elk were unavailable for the entire elk season. During the day, they stayed in dense, closed canopy forests and did not come out. They were there, they just were in places that hunters and non-hunters, but anybody couldn't see them. We're really writing the book on how to manage elk in the East. And we look to our Western partners for their expertise and their guidance, but it's not an apples to apples comparison. It very much is apples and oranges. You also can't look at how you manage whitetail the way you should manage elk. So for us, we sat down and we wrote a 15-year elk management plan. And that was good for us to critically evaluate everything we were doing as an agency, as a program, and set ourselves up for the next 15 years on where we want to go. We're approaching our 25-year anniversary of elk in Kentucky. I don't think anybody could have fathomed what it turned into. They had a vision.
RMEF is thrilled to have been partnered with this from day one.